I'm here to talk about networks and alliances. And when I think about the creation of truly successful networks or alliances of those of us on the right, I think of Philadelphia Society, Mont Pelerin Society. I think of Grover Norquist, who has these monthly meetings, Wednesdays for the domestic groups and Thursdays for the international groups. That's really taken off, by the way, during the pandemic period because we've all moved online, and he's able to bring in people from around the world. It's truly amazing what he's doing. And of course, I think of NatCon and what NatCon's been doing, what the Edmund Burke Foundation's been doing. Truly fantastic. At the European Conservative, the magazine that I'm honored to edit, and you'll see some of them out there on the chairs, the creation of international relationships and alliances, the building of these alliances, is at the core of almost everything we do, especially as we seek to become the leading platform for the right, not just in Europe, but worldwide. Yes, I know it's incredibly ambitious, I know, but you have to aim high. As Peter Thiel told us on, was it Sunday night? We need dissident voices more than ever, and those dissident voices are found around the world. And the European Conservative seeks to publish such dissident voices, offering those with heterodox political opinions a platform, an outlet for their voices. And in the process, we hope to expand that narrow conservative media space into which we've all been forced. I'm going to break it open. Now, before I describe some of the ways that we try to do this, I think I should give you a very brief background story of the origins and development of this magazine. Because I think for many of you, it's the first time you've ever seen it or heard about it. The European Conservative grows out of the activities, really, of a small group of intellectual Europeans, European intellectuals, as you like, who first gathered 15 years ago in the Netherlands. It was organized by people like the late Roger Scruton and also Mark Henry, who some of you know. And that initial annual meeting was held every year, except for last year, and it's grown, and it's come to be known as the Vandenberg Society or the Vandenberg Meeting, which some of you may have heard about. At some point in the development of this meeting, someone on the board proposed having a newsletter for members of this organization. So someone developed and designed a 4-page newsletter. And it was issued just for the members, so maybe 20, 30, 40 copies went out. And it came out for about 4 years, and then it stopped. And I volunteered to be the editor. And I said, well, I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to give it a cover, make it jazzy. I'm going to put ads in there. I'm going to increase book reviews. I'm going to increase it from 4 or 6 pages to 60. Now it's 128. And more importantly, I'm not just going to keep it for the members of this society or this meeting. I'm going to distribute it globally. So I turned it into a PDF, and I made it freely downloadable. And of course, it went, what do the youngsters say? It went viral. And it was fantastic. And I started getting fan mail from Brazil, Chile, Canada, one lonely little conservative in Tokyo. It was incredible. I was at a meeting that Daniel Hannan organized a few years ago, sitting at a table next to these parliamentarians from Luxembourg. And they had iPads, and they were reading the European Conservative. So feigning ignorance, I said, oh, what is that? What are you looking at? They said, oh, this great right-wing journal. I said, oh, where did you get it? And they said, oh, some guy in London sent it to us, and he got it from some guy in Washington, and that guy got it from someone in Paris, and on and on. I said, oh, wow, something's happening here. It became clear to me that an English-language, pan-European, right-wing journal was needed, and that people wanted it. So fast forward to this year, around March of this year, we entered into a very important, mutually beneficial partnership with Matthias Corvinus Collegium, or College, in Budapest. And it just made sense to do that because of the affinities, and also for what was said earlier, what the Prime Minister is doing, and what everyone in Hungary is doing, defending the Christian West, the Judeo-Christian West, mind you. doing the work that people in the West, in Western Europe, should be doing, but aren't. So now we have a little editorial office in Vienna, and design and production in Budapest. Fantastic team, a few of whom are here in the back. Now, that's the story of the magazine, and the website too, which I haven't mentioned. But now let me briefly describe some of the different ways that we're actively trying to build this broad international alliance of the right. I also like to say reactionary. I use these terms interchangeably to trigger people. So let's start with the cover. We've commissioned for the first 4 editions, 2 of which have come out. The next one's in December, the next one's in March. We've commissioned an Austrian artist who's well known among European magazine editors. He's done covers for center-right magazines in France and Germany. And we wanted to run with the big dogs, so we commissioned him. And his fan base is now part of our fan base as well, so that helped. That's a minor little way that we've reached out and created relationships and expanded our networks. We have ads, as I mentioned. We continue to publish ads, and we actively seek out organizations, institutes, private schools, book publishers whose work we admire, whose work is heroic and that we want to promote. Traditionalist Catholic publishers in Brazil and in Canada. They don't have to be Catholic, but it just so happens that the ones who seem to be doing the most work to publish these books happen to be Christian and primarily Catholic. Some of these little outfits, when they get our phone call or our email, are surprised, like, oh, how did you find us? And they're pleased by the attention, of course. And sometimes we do them a solid. If they don't have a budget for advertising, we offer to do it for free. And we hope that in that way we create not just a nice relationship, but a relationship that'll last long term, that'll be sustainable. In terms of content, we publish both the known and unknown writers. So we publish rock stars like Richard Legutko, John O'Sullivan, Remy Bragg, Anthony Daniels, but we also make a very strong effort to find the next generation, talented writers in other countries, up-and-coming writers and thinkers. For example, the Portuguese Scruton, or the Serbian Rod Dreher. He's out there somewhere, I've got to find him. Probably. We also try to find out-of-print materials that have been forgotten, lost along the way, essays and speeches that we think should be back in circulation. And I think one of our most important efforts is to translate works. So we actively seek out people who are writing things, wonderful things from a right-wing perspective, but who have never been translated into English. So we have a team of translators, and we bring that material into English for English-reading audiences. Other examples, we're currently in the process of developing what we're calling hubs across Europe in key capital cities. These can be individuals or small groups of individuals who could partner with us and can help us expand our reach, find new writers, find like-minded institutes, and perhaps help us organize events, seminars in those key cities. I'm very proud of the next example I'm going to give you. We've started a coaching and mentoring program for young writers, especially those who are not used to writing in English. Because it became apparent as submissions started pouring in this past summer that there were clearly very bright, very talented writers out there. But the way they would structure the arguments, the way they would form an essay or an op-ed needed work. And we didn't just want to reject them because there was clearly a good idea at the core. So we set up, with the help of one of our editors, this mentoring program, and we're calling it the Editorial Fellowship Program. We had first a Brazilian political philosopher, now we have a Ukrainian lawyer, and we're getting queries of other people who want to participate because word's getting out. So we're hoping to scale this up and perhaps next year formalize it even more, and perhaps someday when the circumstances are right, bring these fellows over to Vienna and Budapest for the summer to take workshops in journalism or op-ed writing and the like. We have many, many interesting ideas for the future. I'm not going to list them all, don't worry, But they range from publishing monographs, publishing small books, especially for those conservatives out there in Europe who either don't have an American agent or who can't get anyone, apparently, to read their manuscript. So we're going to do it. We're going to try to set up a publishing unit and get those voices out there, get them heard, get them read. In fact, another thing I'm also very excited about, and I'm really hoping this will develop and grow, is an investigative reporting unit. So the website, as you'll see if you visit it, is a little bit different from the magazine. We still have the philosophical, literary content that appears in this quarterly magazine, but we're increasingly including news and analysis, and what I hope next year, some investigative reporting. Because what I want to do, perhaps more than anything else, is counteract the kind of deceptive reporting, so-called reporting, that platforms like Open Democracy have been doing and publishing. Have any of you read Open Democracy? It's incredible. Constantly attacking us, people like us. So I want to do to the left what they've been doing to us for years. It's actually a source of immense frustration for me. Why is no one looking at the dark money on the left? Other than perhaps the Capital Research Center in Washington. They're doing great work, investigating and publishing reports. Or here in Florida, I think, is Peter Schweitzer's Government Accountability Institute. But those are two institutes. Why is no one else on the right doing this kind of work? Well, again, then we're going to do it. We're going to fill that space. And in the process, create alliances and networks. So these are just some of the many ways we're trying to connect people and institutes and forming partnerships and strengthening alliances. And so far, people are excited and the response has been overwhelming. People want to help. We get emails, people who want to volunteer, emails of people who want to be interns. I have to explain to them, well, we're not quite ready to have interns. Then they say, well, I'll do it remotely from Peoria or somewhere. It's fantastic. We're tapping into something. People want to be connected. People are realizing, like many of you, that we got to work together because we're losing a lot of things that we treasure and cherish. I'm coming to the end, but apropos of what I've just said, I'd like to emphasize the following. In order for any of these friendships, partnerships, alliances to be successful and long-lasting, the underlying relationship, just like in our private lives, has to be based on a generosity of spirit, on selflessness. You cannot merely have transactional kind of relationships. They don't last. You can't instrumentalize these friendships. You've got to work at them, and it's based on that selflessness, that giving. I like to emphasize that a lot. I know it makes me sound a little bit touchy-feely, but I'm convinced it works. It's actually the kind of spirit that has allowed us at the European Conservative, before the current partnership, to have writers like John and Anthony Daniels and Roger Scruton writing for us for free for a decade. We had no money. They said, don't worry, we're doing something important here. I think, thankfully, that more and more of us are realizing the importance of that generosity of spirit, but also the importance of working hard to develop these close-knit relationships across borders and boundaries. This NatCon meeting is part of that, an important part of that, inspiring, encouraging. I want to close by just referring to another equally inspiring event that was recently held in Madrid, organized by the Vox Party, who, if you listen to CNN, is a fascist party or trying to bring Franco back or something ridiculous like that. It's not. They invited me as the editor of the magazine. I went to this two-day gathering. It was fantastic. It was incredible. There were families and children, balloons, happiness, joy, pride in Spanish history, pride in Spanish culture. On the second day of that two-day event, there were a series of speeches. The keynote was by party leader Santiago Abascal, who attended NatCon in Rome February of last year. Fantastic, charismatic man. But complementing his keynote speech were, if I remember correctly, maybe 24 in-person speeches as well as televised messages from people around the world who represent the nationalist vision, the sovereigntist vision. There were people like André Ventura, the party leader of Chega in Portugal, very important party, will be, I hope. Giorgia Meloni, Fratelli d'Italia. Ted Cruz sent in a video message, Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and people from Peru, Argentina, Chile, Colombia. It was fantastic. And as I watched some of these televised speeches and some of the in-person speeches, I kept thinking, so this is what an international nationalist alliance could look like. It made me very happy. And I think NatCon is a key part of such efforts, and I hope the European Conservative will also be a linchpin in the creation and strengthening of these alliances. Thank you.